Hello and welcome back to this tutorial series on all the aspects of Artroom. Yeah, so this is the software. There are a lot of options here, and I'm simply going to go through them. Now, if you just want to generate something, make sure you have some model here, type in a prompt, like a cute dog, press run, and you should get a result. This would be the optimal way to do this. However, sadly, life is not so easy. There are a lot of settings that you have to pick and set up. But yeah, we already got a dog with an uneven number of paws. Welcome to the world of image generation or tails. Now, we might get into how to fix something like this later. But this is just so to show you, yeah, I mean, even out of the box, this should work. So we'll start here on the right side and go through all of the settings. Output folder is basically linked to this here. So you have the image output folder, and you can add another folder in there. So if you want to generate just cute dogs and you want them all to be in one folder, you could write cute dogs here. And then within the folder you have defined in settings, you'll get another folder just for your cute dogs. And you can delete this again and generate in the base folder. The number of images is where you can define how many images it should generate every time you press run. So I've set it to 3, and I get 3 images. Width and height is important. So AI generation generally works based on images that are 512 by 512. If you go larger than that, you might get weird effects. Now, from my experience, doing 768 by 768 is almost always fine. I have very, very rarely problems with images. And what I mean by fine, let's go to just below 1024 and press run. And it will generate away while I'm talking here. You will get these weird effects where animals get stacked on top of each other, or you get two, I like to call them nucleation points. I'm not sure whether this is the actual AI term, but basically instead of one dog getting generated, you get 2 dogs getting generated right next to each other. So I think here I actually got pretty lucky with my generations. Let's see, the image is larger now, of course, and I am recording, so it's running a bit slower. I am actually getting pretty lucky. So it might be because of the model I'm using. Maybe this one is a little bit more resilient, but there are definitely models that will be struggling with this. The larger you go, the longer your generation will take as well. So the reason why I'm saying 768 by 768 is a good sweet spot, that is for me, with my graphics card, generating an image takes, what, a couple of seconds? You saw how fast it was. Loading in the model always takes a bit. It takes around a minute. And then once the model is loaded and you press run, you get results pretty quickly. If you need a specific aspect ratio, for example, if you're making wallpapers, you can select them over here. Now, if I were to go all the way up here to 3840 by 3840, if I'm lucky, I can generate that large. If I'm unlucky, I might actually get an out of memory error. It will then pop up, hey, the image you're generating is too large, your graphics card can't handle this. There are some ways to fix that issue with the double animals. I would probably just recommend try it, and if it works, hooray, and if it doesn't work, turn on the high-res fix. We'll get there. Next up, we have model. Model is where you find all the models. As you can see, I had that folder new, and all of the new models that I have are in here. So that is an easy way to distribute the models however you want them. In advanced settings, you'll find a lot more options. Now, hopefully, these are already correct. If not, the image variation strength is only really used while you have an image here. So you can right-click any image and set a starting image, and you'll see these two are actually linked. So technically, you don't even need this here anymore. You can just use the one over the image. The higher the number is, the more away it goes from this image. If you set this to 0.01, you'll be getting basically the same image back. Actually, let's do this. So I'll set this to number of images 1. So I'll press run. I'll go to like 0.4, I press run, and I'll go to like 0.8 and press run. And you can now see how the 3 different results will differ from each other. So the first one should basically look identical to the one I have right now. Let's give it a second to spin up. There you go. So this is basically the same image I just had. This can still be helpful if you're fixing seams. So if you cut multiple things together, you can use this to get different, like you remove the lines. Now with 0.4, you can see we changed the fur of the dog. So we still got something very similar to what we had, but it's different. And it even fixed the paws for us. So if you have something that is close to what you want, but not quite, then you might want to run it through again. Now the final one should be coming up, or did it already generate? Oh wow, the final one at 0.8 gave us that very big difference. So even, did I press twice? Oh no, I see the difference here. Yeah, so if you look, it's very subtle, the difference between these two. So even 0.4 wasn't that big of a difference. So we needed to go up to 0.8 to get a big change. Now if we set this to 1, it'll take a second. You'll see our new image has barely anything to do with the old image. So yeah, this is what the image variation strength does. I'll delete this out again and we'll continue on. Number of steps. If you look online, there will be a huge debate how many steps you need or how many steps you don't need. Don't worry too much. For 99% of the cases, if you're not using anything special, you can just leave this at 20. 20 steps, good enough. If you're using a lot of things, so let's say you're adding multiple loras in, it is generally recommended to increase this. So I would say if you're just using one lora, maybe put it to 30. If you're using multiple loras, I would put it maybe to 50. I would not really go much beyond 50 because I don't really see that much of an improvement if I go higher. You will read that there is an improvement. I have actually tested it. So ask all of those people to show you the deeds. I have my tutorial that I've written attached at the bottom in the description, so you can just look at that tutorial. There is the steps versus, what did I do it against? I think CFG, so you can just check how more steps doesn't make any difference. Or, I mean, it's not any difference, but you don't gain that much. And it's much more effective to then use that image that you have, if you have something very close, and use this as your starting image and then just do another 20 steps. You're getting the same result out, right? So think about it that way. CFG, just leave it at 7.5. It's good enough for most models. If you have a crappy model, you sometimes need to reduce it a bit. But generally, I wouldn't go high. You will see stuff like, oh, it determines how closely it follows your prompt. Check the tutorial. Tell me if it followed the prompt closer or not. I would say it didn't. It didn't matter what I put there. I think the prompt following is, again, one of those, oh no, it's totally that way, trust us, we tested, and nobody actually ever tested. Sampler is another one. Sampler doesn't really matter all that much, I would say. Most of them give you very similar results, except for the ancestral ones, they always give you different results. My two favorites are Euler Ancestral or the DPM Keras one. The DPM Keras one is allegedly following prompts a bit closer, and I have seen it happen occasionally. So I don't see a reason why not to recommend that one. I would stay away from, I think Hewn is slower. There are like 2 or 3 indies that are a bit slower, so just don't use those. And yeah, if you can't decide, just use Euler Ancestral, DDIM, or DPM Keras. It's not gonna, if this changes how good your image looks, you fucked up at another step. That's all I'm gonna say. So the sampler should really not be what makes or breaks your image. Your model should be. Your prompt should be. Your sampler should not be. If your sampler is your issue, then there are bigger issues going on. Clip skip is experimental. Leave it at 1 or 2, play around with it, see if it does anything for you, whatever. Now seed is interesting. So your seed determines what kind of image you get out. So I will do something. I'll keep that seed that I have here and I'll press run. And I'll press run, and I'll press run. So I'm generating now 3 images. Now, the seed is basically what tells the AI what kind of image to generate. And look at those 2 cute dogs that look kind of like plushies. But what you'll see now, I'm having the same seed, and I'm actually getting identical images. So if I go to this, no, it's not that it's not changing. It's just that all 3 images look exactly the same. So the seed kind of determines how the starting noise looks like. And that can actually be helpful. So if you have an image that you like particularly much, you could write down the seed and have a table of seeds that gave you either good colors or good composition or whatever. Because if we change this to a cute cat and all goes well, we should get 2 cats right next to each other. Let's see. Maybe we are lucky, maybe we are not lucky. It's not 100% deterministic here, the seed stuff. But for the most part, you just want to keep this at random, because if it's not at random, you're just generating the same image over and over, as you can see. Okay, we didn't get 2 cats right next to each other. I'm very disappointed. But that is just how things are. VAE. Well, this is difficult to explain. A VAE is a variational something encoder. Basically, it is something that makes your images nicer. It's the shortest version I can say. There are a million of these that you will find of CiviType, but it's almost all of them are anything v3 just renamed to a different name. Now, I would just say you need only 4 of them really. The Armada code I like a lot. The 84001 I like a lot. And the... I don't know. Actually, no. I would just say the Armada code and the 84001. They are good enough. If you're using SDXL, you might also want the VAE for that one. The other ones are in here because I often test for the people settings and I need them so I can test for them. Anything has a weird bug where it generates black images, so that one is definitely not recommended anymore. And these 3 give me weird purple spots. Again, link in the description, download, test, find out what works for you. I would just say use this one if it's like a somewhat realistic model, and use the Armada code if it's a artsy model or a anime model. Cool, that's advanced settings done. So we had 2 loras. Now loras are in here, and what the loras do is they change what the model can do. So I have a lora here that is for D&D races. So I will say make me an Arakocra, and I hope I've typed that right. And when I press run, I will get something like this. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, that is not an Arakocra. Now, for those who don't know, Arakocra are these bird people, D&D bird people. And let's add this lora. Apparently, I need to select this other one first and then delete it out. See, I still find bugs to this day. I will press run. And now that lora knows what an Arakocra is and tells Deliberate, hey, an Arakocra is kind of that bird person. I don't know if I will even get a good result, because I haven't really tried it with a realistic model, but it's gonna be interesting. And as you can see, I get an orc. I mean, an orc is still not what I wanted, but it is potentially possible that I have a typo here, and it's actually this way around, so let's try that. Ha, we got a bird person. Now again, if I remove the lora, yeah, we get whatever that is. Dear God, please stop. Oh no, I'll swap back to this image. I don't want to look at this closer. Now what you might have seen, when I have something here selected, there is a weight. Now a lot of loras are a little bit overtrained. That means that they apply whatever they've learned a little bit too harshly. And you can use this weight to tune it down. So most models will even list on CiviType directly, hey, use this with 0.4 or 0.7. And it's worthwhile that if something looks weird, just play around and reduce that weight down a little bit and see what happens. In the near future, you should also be able to do this here and use a negative weight. So you can use loras that are like bad hands. So someone trained it explicitly on bad hands. And with a negative weight, you avoid bad hands. So that is pretty neat. ControlNet. Now, ControlNet, there are a lot of different models. I do believe you still have to download them yourself, but maybe Artroom has implemented them by now. I had these for so long, so I haven't tried this in a while. But if not, link is in the description to download them. And what these are, they take an image and make a copy of it and then change it. Now you might say, well, how is this different from image to image? Let's set this as our starting image and then click on preview here. Now the preview gives you this outline. I now have Arakocra, but I no longer have that Lora selected. So it should no longer know what I have here. So it might make something like this again. So let's press run. And what we should be able to see is that the image that we're getting maintains that same shape that we have here and only changes the color of it. Exactly. So this worked very nicely. I mean, it's still a bit weird, but it worked very nicely. This is a very easy way to use a face of yourself and get a new cool result. The image variation slider is, by the way, also used for this. So if we set this down to 0.8, it retains a little bit of the original image. Press run. And you can see that the colors are now much closer to what they were earlier. So the image variation strength is also used for ControlNet. There are different kinds. I'll only highlight the ones which I would recommend using. Soft Edge is the easiest one to use. It just makes a line outside. Use that one if you want something that looks very similar. Depth is another one that is very nice. I will just select this and show you the preview. So basically, it's very good at figuring out what is at the front and what is in the back. So if you look, it gives you almost this weird kind of map that you know from video games maybe. So that one can also give you pretty decent results. And the other one that is pretty cool is Scribble. Now, Scribble, I need to demonstrate. I don't know how well this will work yet again, because as always, I don't practice my videos. I just record them raw. Nobody has time for preparations. Come on. And I will get to my desktop and load in that sword. So I have this weirdly scribbled sword here. And I'll select Scribble here. And then I'll say, give me a wonderful sword. Press run. And I get something that is vaguely in the shape of the sword that I had. I'm telling you, swords are like the hardest thing to make with AI. I don't know why, but it just does not want to make swords. Let's try with a lower image strength. Maybe that will help. That was too low. Let's do 8.5. But basically what Scribble does, it reinterprets the scribble that you give it and turns it into something different. Okay, yeah, it's just giving up. Okay, never mind. I've tried. But yeah, give Scribble a try. It's actually surprising what it can do. And the other ones are for your test. So just test them, see what they do. Again, link in the description has explanation what every ControlNet does. Background removal is pretty neat. So if you have something like this cat, you can say, I want the standard and click on preview. And hopefully it gives us just the cat and removes the background from it. And you can save this and use it. The remove background in Gen is currently broken. So if that gets fixed, then basically it uses this as the starting image. For now, I think you can drag and drop this down. Nah, it doesn't allow you. Would have been too easy. But again, you can just save it and load it in here and then use it as your starting image. And then finally, we have high-res settings. Now, these are actually pretty decent already. And basically what that does is, so earlier I told you, oh no, if you go too large, then you'll get these weird artifacts. And if you have high-res enabled, it will first generate at a smaller resolution. So it only gets like a single cat. So if you do 1024 by 1024, it will first generate at 512 by 512. And then it will take that as the starting image and do image to image at 1024 by 1024. And that way you avoid getting that doubling. And the high-res strength is basically that image variation strength that you saw earlier. And the high-res steps is how many steps it does on the higher resolution. Now be mindful that this is of course very strenuous on your graphics card, but so is generating at these larger sizes. So only use this if your graphics card can actually handle it. Or just wait a long while. If you do only upscale, then you will do the full selection here. And it will be very, very, very GPU intense. So I have a 3080 Ti, which I consider a pretty decent graphics card. I can't do it for very large images. I can do it for 24 by 24 just fine. But if I go up like, I don't know, 2000 something by 2000 something, no chance. Like my PC will just start smoking. Now I will actually give you an error message saying, hey, you don't have enough RAM, VRAM. And then we come to the final two ones here. We have our prompt. Prompting along with model are the two most important parts that you will need to learn on how to get good results. What do I mean by that? So, I've just written a cat here, and I mean, I have gotten a cat, but I mean, it is nice and all, but maybe I want a certain style. Let's try a cat in the style of Van Gogh. I might say, wait, that makes no sense. Why would you want to generate something like this? Well, the model understands certain key phrases. So in the style of X is something that the model understands. So if you use a cat in the style of Van Gogh, you actually get a painting that kind of looks like it was painted by Van Gogh. This is one of the ways you can do. Now, another thing that might be interesting. You could write in masterpiece. It's one of the classical one. I'm honestly not a fan of trending on ArtStation, but I'm not going to stop you from using it. I feel like it didn't really make my images that much better, even though everyone seems to be using it. And then there's also stuff like this. You might say an oil painting of a cat in the style of Van Gogh, masterpiece. Now if we generate again, our next image will look like this. And I'll leave it up to you whether this looks better or worse, whether it's closer to the style or not. It's just prompting will definitely determine how good your results look like. And the negative prompt is then what you don't want. So let's say, fuck, we always got the stupid orange cat. I hate orange. You could put orange as your negative prompt, and we'll press run again. And probably demonstration purposes, we are not going to get another orange cat. No, we're getting a black cat. Okay, it worked this time. Sometimes it just ignores negative prompt and still gives you an orange cat. But this is a good way to remove colors that you're not like. Another common one is if you generate certain races of D&D and it is green or purple or so, and you want a different color, then using a negative prompt, that color can help. Another good way to use it is use male in the positive prompt and female in the negative prompt to force making male characters, or vice versa to make female characters. Can be very helpful. Or even play with it a bit and have an orc, don't write female, but put male as a negative prompt, and then maybe you get something that is a little bit more in between male and female. So you can actually really get a lot out if you just play around with your negative and positive prompts for a bit. There is a prompting tutorial with a lot of different attributes I've tried, again in the description. You can check it out. Now, for now, I think this is everything we have here. I will just very quickly go over to here, to the settings, and we'll go through this as well. Now, the image output folder is where your image land. The model weights folder is where you would put your models. The intermediates shows you the image as it is getting generated. Now, it says here coming soon. In the beta, it's already implemented. It does make the generation slower, so that's why I don't like it enabled. But it is kind of nice to look at your image as it gets generated. So I'll leave this up to you whether you want to enable it or not. As I said, in the live version, it's currently not working. Beta version, it's already fixed, so we'll probably come to live soon. The high-res fix you can turn off here. So if you don't want it to first generate a smaller picture and then upscale it to a larger picture, you could use this. The long save path is deprecated for people who want to use it, and you can make grids out of your images. I would also not use those. And then the debug mode I would leave enabled. Debug mode gives you this. So if you have any problems, it should tell you here what the hell is going on. If anything breaks, you can try to press update packages. And don't forget to press save settings if you change anything here. And then finally, if you need anything, come to our Discord or learn more here and you'll be brought to the tutorial that I've written, me and Styx. I hope you found this quick overview of Artroom helpful, and I see you next time. Bye bye.